All right, if you've ever tried to build a really custom UI in Oracle Apex, you know the pain, right? It can get messy. But what if I told you there's a way to build these awesome, reusable, totally modern widgets just once, and then use them absolutely everywhere? Well, that's what we're talking about today, template components. Let's get into it. So here's the plan. We're going to start with a little history, how we got here from the old way of doing things. Then we'll dissect a component to see what makes it tick. After that, it's lab time. We're going to build a hero component together. We'll touch on some cool interactive features and wrap up with some common pitfalls and how to fix them. Okay, first up, the evolution from reports to components. To really get why template components are such a game changer, we got to look back at the dark ages. Seriously, for years, if you wanted to build something like a custom user profile card, you were basically signing up for a maintenance nightmare. So the old way? You were stuck hacking classic report templates. And let me tell you, it was a mess. You'd be wrestling with this spaghetti monster of HTML and CSS. It was impossible to maintain, and reusing it was a total pipe dream. But now we have template components. Think of them as these neat, self-contained little boxes. All the HTML, CSS, and logic are bundled up inside. It's the classic don't repeat yourself principle, the dry principle in action. You update it in one spot, and bam, every single one of them across your entire app just updates. It's fantastic. All right, section 2, anatomy of a component. So how do these things actually work? Let's pop the hood and see what's inside. Okay, this right here is the blueprint. It's super important. Every single template component is built on these 4 key pillars. You've got the partial, that's your HTML skeleton. You've got attributes, those are the inputs for your data. Then there's the logic, which adds the smarts. And finally, the assets for all your styling and JavaScript. These 4 pieces work together to create one beautiful, self-contained, reusable thing. Let's break them down. First, the partial. Honestly, just think of it as the HTML skeleton. It's the bare bones of what your component looks like. It's full of these little placeholders like hashtag title or hashtag image URL. And the magic is, when the page loads, Apex just goes in, finds those placeholders, and swaps in your real data. Simple as that. But you're probably asking, where does that data come from? Well, that's where attributes come in. They are literally the inputs for your component. You get to define exactly what kind of data it needs. You might say, I need a line of text here, a URL for an image there, and hey, maybe even a color picker. This is what makes your component so flexible and powerful. Now, this is where things get really cool. You can inject some smarts into your component with optional PL/SQL logic. It lets you write if-then statements. So you could say something like, hey, if the status of this project is late, then slap a big red warning class on it. It's all about making your components react to the data dynamically. And last but not least, we have the assets. We're talking about your CSS and JavaScript files. And here's the best part. They're scoped. What does that mean? It means they only load if the component is actually on the page. This is huge for performance. No more loading one massive bloated CSS file for your entire app. It keeps everything lean and super fast. Okay, section 3. Enough talk, right? The best way to learn this stuff is to actually build something. So let's fire up the lab and create a hero component from the ground up. This is going to be a nice, big visual header for a page. So step 1 is simple. You're just going to head over to Shared Components, find Plugins, and hit Create. Step 2, we set the basics. We'll name it Hero, of course. We'll set the type to Template Component. And since we want it to be a big chunk of our page, we'll set it as region only. Then we get to the fun part, writing the HTML. And here it is, the heart of our component, the HTML partial. This is the exact code you'd paste in. Look, it's pretty standard stuff, right? Divs, H4s, but the magic is right there in those placeholders with the hash symbols around them. See that? Hashtag avatar URL, hashtag username. Each one is a little hook waiting for our data. Okay, so how do we connect data to those hooks? That's step 4. We define our custom attributes. For this hero component, we'll create one called overline, which will just be text, and another called description, which will make a text area. Then for the final step, step 5, you just hop over to Page Designer, drop your new hero region onto the page, and map your data, whether it's from a SQL query or just static text, right to those attributes. And that's it. You're done. Now, having a static component is awesome, but the real power kicks in when you make them interactive. So for section 4, let's level up and look at 2 really powerful features, slots and actions. So what are slots and actions? Well, think of a slot as just a hole. It's a designated empty space inside your component where you can drop other Apex components later. Like you could add a slot for buttons, and then in Page Designer, you can just drag and drop a send message button right into it. Actions are a bit different. They make parts of your component clickable, triggering dynamic actions. You can make the entire hero card clickable, so when a user clicks it, it opens up a modal window. Super useful. Okay, last big section, common issues and solutions. Because let's be real, when you're learning something new, you're going to hit a few bumps in the road. So let's go over some of the most common gotchas so you can save yourself some headaches.
Think of this table as your first aid kit. Now, probably the number one issue people run into is CSS conflicts. You build this beautiful component, drop it in your app, and suddenly it looks all wrong because some global style is messing it up. The fix? Use a solid naming convention for your classes, something like BEM. It helps you write really specific CSS that won't get bullied by other styles.
All right, listen up because this one is absolutely critical. I'm going to say it twice. Never use an ID attribute inside a template component. Why? Well, imagine you use that component in a report to show like 10 user cards. You'll end up with 10 divs with the exact same ID on your page. That's illegal in HTML and it will completely wreck your JavaScript. Just don't do it. Use classes or data attributes instead, please. All right, time to put what you've learned to the test. I've got a little mission for you. Your challenge is to build a product badge component. It should have one simple attribute, a yes/no, to see if a product is on sale. And if it is on sale, you'll use a little bit of that component logic we talked about to show a sale badge. Give it a shot. So here's the bottom line. Template components aren't just another feature. They're a whole new way of thinking about building UIs in Apex. It's all about being more modular, easier to maintain, and frankly, way more powerful. So the real question isn't if you should use them, it's what amazing thing are you going to build first?